This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data, and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics. We promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Eric Vermillion, CEO at Helpshift. Eric, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay. We all like when things go smoothly and prefer to stay that way, but the universe is messy, so the people's experience with mobile games and apps can be too. As much as app developers do their best to deliver the best experience to the users, they are just human beings like you and me. Even if the code is perfect, which is rarely the case if ever, there may be just issues with how people interact with the app, which has nothing to do with code. The solution, support system that will help you to resolve all these issues for your mobile game users. Today, Eric will tell us about the challenges of a mobile game player support. But first, Eric, let's start off with talking about you and your background. Tell us about yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. I've spent my entire career, about 25 plus years at this point, in software and technology. I've held leadership roles and worked in quite a few different industries, but all of it in tech and software, and the majority of it in the customer service, customer support arena. I've been in Helpshift for the last 4 years. I took over as CEO from the founder, Avinash Tripathi, who started the company a little over 10 years ago. I live in Texas. I've been married to my wife, Amy, for the last 25 years, and we've got two daughters.
This is great. 25 years in business, pre-Facebook, pre-YouTube, pre-Google, pre anything you can think of.
Yeah.
Pre-TikTok, of course, pre-ChatGPT, like anything you can think of about the high tech these days did not exist in any shape and form 25 years ago.
It did not. My kids can't even imagine it with their smartphones and their apps and all the niceties in life that we had to find a way. It was a much simpler world, I guess.
All right. Okay. Now tell me about your company, Helpshift.
Yeah, sure. So Helpshift's a digital support platform that really helps consumers engage with brands in a more intuitive and logical way that leaves them feeling delighted by the experience. And we do that primarily by focusing on the mobile app to enable that. It is a beautiful platform for doing that because your identity is typically already known. It's something that you've got with you. Most of us tend to have it with us 24/7, 365. So we primarily focus on using the mobile app for that. We've got a mobile SDK that's very easy to integrate with your app. We're able to enable support in any language. In fact, we're just starting to enable support so that even you could have a German-speaking support agent, for example, delivering support to a customer in Brazil that speaks Portuguese through AI machine translation and language translation. And more importantly, it's always on and it's always available. So that concept of trying to engage support and finding that it's closed is just that's not something that any of our customers ever have to deal with. We also leverage AI and automation, and I know there will likely be the requisite question later about generative AI, and happy to talk about that. But we've been using AI for years, and many of our customers actually already automate up to 90% of their support tickets while still delighting their customers. We've got over 400 customers around the world, very much a global organization, and we've got about 200 people that are part of the Helpshift team.
That's really cool. I was going to ask, can you support multiple languages? And you're saying you're using AI to translate between the languages. which for people who remember how Google Translate, what job it was doing a few years ago, it was pretty much not, up to the standard you would like to have a translation. So it was kind of rough. Then it became great. These days, AI experience can pretty much be on the same level of, regular conversation between two people, like they're speaking the same native language. And obviously, like if you're opening the app and you not only have this small icon saying help with a few Q&A questions and that's it, you're actually having somebody who can help you at any moment with the app, because it's just damn impossible to put every possible iteration of a problem that may occur into the FAQ file. You need somebody able to actually deliver the help when it's needed. So you're saying German become the language of support. Any plans for other languages? Chinese obviously comes to mind.
Yeah. We support most of the common languages around. I just gave that as one example, but yeah,
Just an
certainly,
example.
Chinese, Korean, Portuguese, Spanish, any of the common ones.
Terrific. So the topic on the table are the challenges of a game support. So what are the challenges and requirements of a mobile game support? What kind of issues do you guys see popping up most frequently? And quite frankly, what are you fighting with daily?
Yeah, look. I think it's true for mobile games, and I find mobile games incredibly interesting because having spent a nice chunk of my career, working in a broader kind of cross vertical support environment, where I dealt with banks or insurance companies or kind of some legacy brands that sort of have this preconceived notion of how support is delivered, and it's you put a bunch of people in a building and you call them,
Yeah,
you send out physical mail, email, and that sort of stuff. Gaming moves faster than that. And I think sometimes people don't appreciate how fast gaming has moved from a support perspective. You don't see a lot of support. You don't see a lot of industry support forums that, kind of invite gaming up to the stage to talk about support, because it's sort of intuitive. You need to do it if you have a mobile game. Or if you have a mobile game, it's critical. You can't be successful by letting people leave that app. So you have to find a way to keep your players in the app. And yeah, I think as other industries are embracing the app as kind of the focal point of their customer interaction, they're seeing that same thing as well. But when they need your help, it's a vulnerable moment for them, right? So
yeah.
you're hurting your chances of success for the app if the first thing you do is throw them out of it and say go look for support somewhere else. So I think the other thing that support people are really wrestling with right now, whether it's in the gaming industry or any other, is this notion of how does AI play into my future, and how does generative AI play into my future? I would say it has implications to the validity of support responses as well as to the people that are involved in it. And at Helpshift, we've been using AI for years, and many of our customers have already leveraged AI and automation to automate upwards of 90% of their support issues. Um, and I think the gaming industry, again, they were born in tech. They've embraced it more actively than other verticals. Some of our fintech customers have also really embraced it. I think AI will continue to change the support industry overall, and I do think for the better. But there are a lot of kind of wild views out there in the world right now of how it can replace people. And I'll tell you what I've seen with our customers is more about humans and bots and AI working together for the customer as a team. You really allow the human support agents to become more like personal assistants or concierge type service, and it really starts to create a massive value for the organization as they really start to make you more resistant, or help with retention and even
Right.
revenue growth. And so, I think the world tends to think about efficiency often as a way to replace people. But
Mm.
what I would say is, our customers have done a really nice job instead of thinking it that way and thinking of it in terms of how do I augment people to really drive great results. And, it actually helps your business. It makes the role of a contact center agent even more valuable and interesting. And it helps both, it helps drive both bottom line and top line success for the business.
Yeah, exactly. Like retention is such a key notion for game developers because I'm thinking like two situation where somebody is on a phone support for a company that provides a service where customers commit to that service and the chances that they're going to leave if anything happens are not that big. But for a game, they can just, tap on the app store, go to the other game in a second. And if they do that in bulk, you're doomed. Your app business goes down. That's given for any app development and game development is special. The retention, there was a reason why the games became so cheap on mobile initially. That was the way to get scale. Prior mobile app stores, there was, people were paying, they're still paying for, couple, 20, $30 for the copy of Xbox or game from Sony. The App Store gave to everybody who wanted to play games for $1, $2, $3, $5 a copy. But if you're getting people that cheap, if you don't have them in bulk, you did not. Your user base is running away from you. There's no way you can sustain your business. So the support essential, and yeah, I'd be having a hard time trying to imagine somebody calling in the phone their regular phone support when he's playing a game on the phone. It would be just damn impossible to do. Yeah, I think it's kind of a plot for a next comedy or something, because it's
Could
that
be.
hilarious. Um, so since the dawn of mobile in 2007, uh, the whole experience of playing was drifting towards mobile, but it's not entirely there. The big chunk of gaming happens on mobile devices. That's undisputable, but there are still console playing, desktop playing. And as much as we all run towards ChatGPT and generative AI, metaverse is kind of still there. So, what are the challenges of those platforms, gaming wise?
Yeah, well, I mean, for consoles, like you said, it's you're not in the game. You're not in the you're not in the environment, and so you have to depart and go engage support in a different way. But mobile's a beautiful thing because you typically have a consumer who's already been securely authenticated, so you know their identity, you know what they're entitled to, and it's they're effectively in your store. If you
Yeah.
kind of make the comparison to kind of brick and mortar businesses, you've got somebody who's in your store, you know who they are, you know what they want, you know how big their wallet is.
Hmm.
And so, the ability to market to them and support them is absolutely the highest when they're in their app, or when they're in your app. When they're not, that gets harder. I mean, desktop's evolved where it's a little bit easier. There's, the lines have been blurred a little bit between mobile and desktop, and the handoff's a little bit easier there, but you still tend to have challenges around identity. But console's absolutely the hardest because you have to stop your game and then go make a phone call or send an email. And a lot of people using console games don't actually have emails, so they're like, Dad, can you
Yeah.
send an email because
Right.
I lost my tokens or whatever. So nobody wants to do that. So we've patented a QR code based support environment that can, from the console game, can actually generate a unique QR code on the screen that helps to identify the player, the game, the place in the game, those types of things where they've had the issue. And so they can just click on that from their smartphone, or, scan that QR code from their smartphone. And then it could take them into the mobile app, which is also a way to kind of drive people to mobile if, the company wants to do that. But it also gives them the ability to kind of engage in that immersive mobile-based support experience, from directly within the game. So they don't have to kind of lose their place in the game, and they can kind of minimize the disruption or the chance that they bail out of the game at that point. And that one is something we're starting to see adoption from some of our largest customers, but it's one as well that has applicability across other verticals as well, where there are physical goods that are capable of producing a QR code. Think like smart appliances or vehicles or things like that as well, where you could use that QR code ability to really create a better mobile sort of experience for consumers. I didn't forget your mention of the metaverse. I saved that for kind of the last part of the question, but I think it's unfortunate that so many people associate AR and VR with the metaverse and ultimately with Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, yeah. The
And
baby.
really launched it at a time that kind of the global perception of Meta and Facebook was super low as well. There were all these trials and court cases about privacy and security and things like that. So it was there was just a massive sort of environmental things that maybe kind of doomed the whole metaverse approach to it up front. But I'm very bullish on AR and VR, whether you call it a metaverse or not, and I think people, it has a great long-term future. So when I think about kind of gaming, for sure, there's definitely going to be continued advances, whether they'll be rapid or not. I somewhat doubt in the gaming industry, but I think there's massive application in professional environments, healthcare, education. It takes away the physical space and language barriers and collaboration and communication that have slowed people down since the beginning of time. And so it does that in an incredibly profound way. So I certainly believe it has a very good, very strong future. I hope that it, continues to advance because the applicability for global communication and collaboration, even outside of gaming, is just massive.
Yeah, I don't want to say hack, but the workaround of actually connecting the people who are using console gaming to the support system, their QR code, is a smart way of actually being able to reach them out anyway. Because imagine a teenager playing a game on a console. He has no idea what email is at all. Like, this concept is not there, like, until he starts working in a few years, and he will be giving an email address at his office. Till that moment, he has no idea what an email is, right? And calling in the phone, speaking with somebody, not texting, that would be a non-starter at all. So yeah, QR code, jump to the app, get on the support in the chat, and resolve a problem. Yeah, that's the way to go. And yeah, I would totally agree that the media, the tech pundits, we, like many of us with them, tend to associate big changes, shifts with personalities. This is the way we wired. People like to give a kind of a not a tag, but a person. Okay, metaverse, Mark, Twitter, Elon, and etc. And this is the perception, the filter we're getting through any topic. And yeah, metaverse can be here or not, but VR, AR experience can just move along without it, like, regardless of the fate of the metaverse is the idea. I mentioned ChatGPT and generative AI. What are your thoughts about the using this platform right now? You mentioned that you're already using the generative AI in your on your platform, but do you see the room for improvement? Anything can be done better? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, historically, we've primarily just used sort of intent-based classification. That's the flavor of AI that we've used. Because when you think about when people call a support desk, and we see this, we actually produce a report every year that you can get on our website that talks about the state of mobile gaming, but it talks about a few other industries in there as well, where we actually analyze what are the top questions that people are asking when they engage our system for support. And so it's, when you think about the top kind of categories, most of them are, most of them are about, account-based issues, or or billing type things, or their technical support issues. And so just by understanding what those are, and creating a logical self-service path for people based on the, kind of the things that receive the highest volume of support tickets, and then just continuing to iterate that based on feedback, that's the kind of AI that, our customers have used to be able to really drive, like I said earlier, like upwards of 80 or 90% automation. Because when you think about when you call in for support, you have typically one thing that you're trying to fix. My
Yeah,
bill is wrong.
makes sense.
I've lost something. It's not, like we're trying to predict the weather here, or, where the stock market's going to be in 3 months. Those kind of things that you think of, kind of the large language models being able to help with more of that kind of multi-dimensional prediction. Now, there are some things that, we're adding into the platform using generative AI, things like issue summarization, so that if you've had a long discussion with, with a support person, being able to kind of quickly summarize that, which helps the support agent as well as the consumer kind of, distill down all that history into,
Hmm.
a very readable thing. I think it's going to help make FAQs even smarter, and, help them kind of continuously regenerate based on, what the most common topic is. And I think those are things that are true in gaming, and, those are some of the things that we're launching this year, but that I think are also going to be helpful in other industries as well. I think that, the thing that I hear the most about AI, particularly in the world of customer support, is that people think AI will take support jobs.
Yeah,
And
at some
the
point.
reality is, the reality is people who learn how to use AI most effectively will take the jobs of people who ignore it. So, I guess my advice is, don't ignore it. It's absolutely here. It is going to change, how we deliver support. And, technologists like us are going to continue to, try and make that, uh, turn that into tools that are useful for people. But the people who embrace it, as an opportunity to make their support agents even more powerful ambassadors of their brand, and use it to drive revenue and intense customer loyalty, the impact on the top line can't be overlooked. And I think that's if I could, if I could tell, CEOs and CFOs who are thinking about how does, generative AI improve my bottom line, I'd challenge them to not just think about that, but think about how it can actually improve your top line as well. Because there's a lot of really smart, creative, thoughtful people that exist in contact centers around the world, that AI can just like give them superpowers like we never thought were possible.
Yeah, just like this common theme these days: do not be afraid of AI, be afraid of people who are using AI effectively. These are your competition.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. Yeah.
I obviously this summer, like one of the things that we're all waiting for every June is the WWDC conference from Apple. Well, what's coming? What's going to be the next thing, if anything? And this year it was the Vision Pro set from Apple. Over I don't know 5, 7, 6 years, there have been a lot of rumors how it's going to look like, the capabilities, the price tag. So finally, it's all here. And looks like this is the next big gaming platform, one of the applications right there. So, what are your thoughts about the gaming support from Vision Pro, or is that just speculation? Somebody will be popping up in the game. Hi, I'm your support guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's my opinion is that Apple doesn't really do anything halfway ever. If they're in, they're all in, and they've got the ability to kind of continue to fund and develop their in-house capabilities as well as the ecosystem to make it a useful thing. I think we're probably still kind of one or two iterations away from it really being kind of a mainstream thing that people have to have. My house is full of Apple products, and they all work together incredibly well. It's, for me, and I'm a gaming industry person. For me, there's just not there's no fear of missing out yet on, the Vision Pro. It seems like it's still kind of a separate thing that I can't really intuitively understand how it fits nicely into my Apple ecosystem and why I can't live without it. So, as I've had Apple products over the years, I've added because I felt like, well, I have to have this. I can't. This is a cool thing that just is going to work together seamlessly with everything. And I just don't see that yet with Apple. But I believe if anybody can get there, they
Yeah.
will eventually, and that's one of their powers. And maybe that's where kind of the Meta story failed because they don't have the hardware that makes it all integrate into daily life like Apple does.
Yeah, exactly. Apple thinks platforms, not products. And it does look like the version one of an iPhone, let's say,
Yeah,
people had this feeling it's going to be massive and great, but not at that point. And plus, I don't know, gaming experience will like to play in pairs, and if you're paying 3,500 per one set, you're paying 7,000 per two per your family. That's a bit pricey at this point. So
that's the
early
yeah,
adopters will help us to get there.
yeah.
Not only, the stardom of tech bloggers who will be trying these products, but regular folks who can afford that money. And over time, we will get there, like the um, the outlines of the platform of the ecosystem will be more visible as it's right now. It's hard to say, like you're saying, the demo was great. I can see potential how it should work. All my apps, all my games, the interaction, which gave me this impression for Minority Report. Finally, this experience is here, and I'm
Yeah.
not Tom Cruise to use this device. Yeah, this is great. Eric, I got this interesting question for you. Looking back at your years in tech, what would you really like to change about this ecosystem the most?
Uh, that's a great question. You think about the pace of innovation and how it just continues to increase. It's hard to be too critical of it because I think overall I think it's a good thing, and it tends to make our lives easier. But I do think if I had to pick one thing, I think our short attention spans in the tech world tend to be a bit of a problem for us sometimes. It's a little bit of a blessing and a curse. I think most innovators, tech founders, kind of thought leaders are great at ideation, at coming up with great ideas. Many of them are really good at even activating good ideas, but we're not always great at follow through. I think you're probably starting to already see some of that in generative AI. There was like this just huge, massive interest that's people are starting to kind of lose a little bit of interest in some of the use cases. I'd tell you, I mentioned I've spent my whole career in software and tech. More than 20 years ago, I actually used to sell 3D simulation tools to manufacturing company. I think today that would be called the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
It really was kind of the early version of the metaverse, but then it was just a tool, to help optimize line layout and design and make sure things could actually be built in the way that they were designed. But it's evolved and evolved and evolved, but it took a huge break, you know, over the last 20 years, or it wasn't, used in some of the kind of applications that I think the metaverse can be used in today. And I wonder if, we could have committed to that a little bit better. So I think, the limitless capabilities of software have driven unprecedented speed of innovation. Great thing, but sometimes along the way, some really useful things get discarded, and it would be nice if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, so it's about the pace of innovation and the products we introduce into our life. I really like this old phrase from Steve Jobs that the computer should be a bicycle for the mind.
That's a
Um,
great one. Yeah.
if that's not a bicycle, if it's just a toy, the interaction would not be that great. At some point, we will be dealing with a problem of addiction. Because if you're addicted to your bike, I don't know, you're just gonna get great muscles and be healthy. If you're addicted to a toy, boy, you're in trouble. So if that's consideration always on the table when people are thinking about creating the next ecosystem, the next product, chasing big ideas with big money, not small ideas with big money, as Kara Swisher likes to say. Yeah, that's a good way of doing business and be helpful for this planet we call Earth. Okay, we're wrapping up the first part of the show and transitioning to the second one, where I'm just spending a few minutes asking every guest on the show a few quick questions. This is my way of helping the audience know these people a little bit better. So, what smartphone do you have now? I guess it's the iPhone. So you never switch back and forth between Android and iOS?
I never switch back and forth between Android and iOS, and I can't even imagine switching now. I'd be afraid that I'd lose everything.
All right. Before you got your first iPhone, what was your first mobile phone?
Well, there was a few between my first one and the iPhone because it wasn't invented yet.
I would imagine, right?
My very first one was that Motorola flip phone. That brick that we used to carry around 25 years ago. Just a great phone, but
yeah, today it would be a good tool for self-defense.
Yes.
So imagine today you left your phone at home for whatever reason. You're out minding your business, and what's the most missing feature for you?
Probably finding my way home.
Right, got you. I heard Apple Maps are finally getting more love from people. So what is it for you? Google Maps or Apple Maps?
Yeah, we're a house divided here. My wife likes Apple Maps. I prefer Google Maps or Waze.
Okay. What new app technologies are you most excited about? Hardware, software, perhaps not just following the trends, but if you think about something that would be helpful for you specifically, what would be that thing that is missing right now?
Yeah. Well, I do think that the future of AR and VR is incredibly cool and has so much professional application that's but we're talking about a few years, I think, before that has day-to-day application. If the world stays committed to it, but just on a day-to-day, I travel a lot, so I'd say the innovations that my travel providers, my airline companies and public transportation companies have made and continue to make in their mobile apps is absolutely makes my life easier. Every time I open up a new version of that and see something better, that's probably the thing that's most relevant for me.
Gotcha. All right. Before I let you go, very final question. Where can people get in touch with you and how they can know more information about what you do?
Yeah, well, you can reach me directly at ericv@helpshift.com is via email, or welcome anyone to connect with me directly on LinkedIn.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Eric. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And that was Eric Vermillion, CEO at Helpshift. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps, and you will find us easily. Remember, we release episodes on Mondays. So subscribe, and you'll be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review or comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.